Okay, my name's Andy Parks. I'm the president and executive director of the Vintage Aero Flying Museum, home of the Lafayette Foundation. This plane and I go back together for a long time, almost 40 years. My father started building it in 1971. It first flew in 1978, and I flew it for the first time in 2000. It's had kind of an interesting life on its first flight. It had a ground loop experience, which then took about another 5 years to fix. And it was first flown again in 1999, Mark Holiday. We had some weight and balance issues with it, took a little bit to fix that, and then ever since '99 it's been flying successfully. It's one of the few Fokker D7s that's flown across country. It's been to Dayton and back, up to Wisconsin and back, and it was featured in the movie Dawn Patrol, or the documentary Mission Dawn Patrol. It's in the markings of Ernst Udet. Ernst Udet was Germany's top scoring ace to survive the war with 62 victories and second highest overall, right behind Richthofen. Udet flew this in the summer of 1918. It was shot down by the 96 Aero Squadron. Udet came across 3 of the 96. He shot down 2, and then 1 of the 96 bombers shot him down. He was able to survive that incident by parachuting out of the airplane. The Germans had parachutes in World War I. The Allied service didn't allow it. Udet said in his memoirs one of the most eerie things he saw in World War I was after that plane, after he was shot down, he went back in the air that evening and flew over the burned out remains of his Fokker D7 that he'd been flying in the morning. He realized that a year earlier, had that happened, he wouldn't have had a parachute and he would have perished with the airplane. It's in the markings of Lo, which was his girlfriend. Her name was Lola, and in her honor, he always painted her name on the side of the airplane. They would marry after the war. He didn't want to marry her before the end of the war because he wasn't sure if he was going to survive. He also had the very characteristic markings on the tail for Udet with "Du doch nicht," which lightly translates to "No, not you," or "You're not going to shoot me down." It's a little bit of a slang for "No way are you going to shoot me down," and you see that painted on the tail. So this is a Fokker D7. It was powered with a BMW engine. It brought BMW, what we know of the car company today, to its starting point when they won the contract to provide engines for Fokker D7s in December of 1918.
Question for you. Tell us about the Blue Max character being loosely based on Udet.
So Udet and Zirkle, who's the main character for the movie The Blue Max, are basically the same person, in the sense that Udet wasn't a Prussian, he was a Bavarian, so he was sort of like a Southerner versus the High German or Hochdeutsch Prussian, and he was kind of frowned upon, not really part of the elite group of the army as, say, Richthofen, who was Prussian, whose family was in the military for a long family history. Udet was probably the best pilot in World War I, and it was that characteristic, or that quality, that allowed Udet to win the friendship and fame that he acquires by the end of the war. If you ever look at a picture of Udet, you'll always notice that Udet is the only German pilot I've ever seen to wear his pilot's badge above his Iron Cross, which is not typical for a German soldier. He would always wear his awards higher than his qualifications, and pilot's badge is a qualification. Udet was one of the most famous pilots of World War I. After the war, he'd come to America and fly in movies. He was a famous stunt pilot, and of course his demise was the Nazi Party of World War II, when his nemesis from World War I, Hermann Goering, who becomes chief of the air service, second in command to Hitler, tries to get Udet to follow in the Nazi Party regime.